Hello and welcome back to Piper House, where we renovate our vacant 1889 home in a small town in Nova Scotia. We moved the kitchen around a little bit to make it seem more like a kitchen, and it was much more comfortable for sure. Matt is working on mudding the dining room, basically the whole house. That's all we've done in this last week is mud. I was trying to make supper. We've been really trying to make it feel more like a normal life as best as we can while living in a construction zone. You can see Matt behind me working away. I forget what I was listening to, some Celtic music, I think. Anyway, we have all of our spices set up in the little rolly cart and all of my gluten-free stuff. And I've got some veggies going in the air fryer, and Matt is working on mud in the corner. Obviously, there's lots of things that we should have done in a different order, but A, we're amateurs, and B, we had to move with the timelines of the tradespeople, etc. So trying to mud and tape this bathroom after the sink is installed is obviously, yes, a nightmare, but it was the only way that we could do it in the time constraints we had. So we move forward. I am using, it's hard to see because the bathroom is so small, it's hard to get a good angle. I'm using the tiniest little putty knife to try and spread the mud on because it's the only tool I had that was small enough to fit into these small spaces. But it's also not as effective, obviously, to try and spread mud. Anyway, we made it work like we always do. We're working away here. Interesting little thing just happened. I was anyway, coming from one room to the other, and I looked out and I just happened to see a town car. I don't mean a town car as in a limo. I mean a vehicle for the town that we live in, meaning like the town staff pulling in at the house here. And I was concerned because I was just worried that they were going to come and say, hold on, you're doing something that you need a permit for, even though we've been pretty careful about that. I was worried that they were coming to tell us that we did something wrong or that we owed them money or, you know. It's so funny, like, even if you drive past a police car, you're, like, automatically tense, even though, like, you haven't done anything wrong. That's what it felt like. Anyway, guy knocked on the door and said that his wife had shown him our video about the plumbing issues, and that he did a bunch of research and was concerned for us about where our sewer line ran. And he knows that there's a sewer line that runs on the other street. And he just wanted to be sure that we had it all taken care of. And was there any more issues? And was the sewer line still clogged? Do we have a working sewer system? And I told him that the plumber said, like, who was our plumber? Did they do a good job? Anyway, I assured him that they had fixed it all up. And I just was there's been so many instances like that since moving to this town of people just being super helpful. And like, he went out of his way today to stop in, to check in on us, just to be sure that everything was okay. I just thought that was really, really lovely. Turns out though, he's a Highland dance dad, and which is wonderful. Reason number 3,764,222 reasons why the Highland dance community is so lovely. And that's a community that I've been a part of my whole life, basically. But his wife had shown him our video. So anyway, still super lovely for him to take time out of his day, come check in, make sure that we had a working system. So anyway, phew, I was kind of like, oh, thank God I didn't do something wrong, or, you know, anyway, really, really nice. And yeah, just another great thing about living in a small town. It has obviously its drawbacks, but there's a lot of pluses as well. I am back in the living room trying to scrape down from the first coat of mud, trying to scrape down any of the kind of scratchy parts or the high points that are sticking up to make it easier for us to spread the second coat once we get to that point.
Hello, Matt here. Just finishing up some little bits and pieces on the drywall, and today this morning I've been in the bathroom just getting this ready. Veronica's going to do the mudding and taping in here and just putting in a couple of shelves. So here's the bathroom as it stands. She's got the tiles up, just need to clean up the grout. And then just because there's so little room in here. Just put in a couple of shelves this morning. That top one's just an old piece of wood from the house project here. Don't remember where it came from. In the bottom, just some scraps of stuff my brother milled in Cape Breton. So that's going to be what we have for storage space. And yeah, on to more little bits and pieces as we try and get all this mudding and taping and sanding done. And also the toilet was originally turned around so that you were facing this wall over here, and because of the amount of space in here, your knees were pretty well hard up against that wall. It was very uncomfortable. So this should work a bit better for us, and looking forward to seeing how it looks when we're done with it.
Speaking of tiny bathrooms, I'm back in the bathroom trying to now mud and tape the corners behind the toilet. I am sitting backwards on the toilet trying to bend over to try and get the tape in that corner there. Again, would have been a lot easier to do this before the toilet was installed, but we live and we learn, and that just wasn't possible. And we obviously need a toilet in the house. That is a pretty big necessity. This was not a fun job, and it was definitely hard to get back into those corners, but it's also the good thing about it being a small bathroom is that there's not as many spots to mud and tape. However, because this bathroom is under the stairs, there's way more corners and things like that to try and tape. Anyway, in the end, we figured it out. I must reiterate, we are amateurs. Mudding and taping and drywalling is not our forte by any stretch. And as anybody knows that's ever done it before, it truly is a miserable job. It's like trying to spread flour and water on a wall to make it perfectly smooth with no wrinkles or ridges while it's actively drying. That's what it feels like. So, not fun at all. But, we are figuring it out, and we are just happy that the actual drywalling, like screwing the drywalling in, is done, so that we can just focus on, this part, which is several coats of mud. And we have all the mudding and taping done, just trying to finish the several coats that need to be done here and make it, so that it's a livable bathroom. And that is the back corner that I finished there. Then, because we are fully finished with the drywall pieces, meaning every part of the first floor is drywalled, we wanted to get the leftover drywall out of the way because it just takes up so much space and makes it so harder to move around. So we decided to move it up to the second floor. The only spot big enough up there, because all of our stuff is still up there, is at the very top of the stairs here on the landing. But oh my God, this was such a nightmare to get up. And yes, it is Matt doing it on his own. Honestly, there's not really enough room on the stairs for both of us to try and maneuver this. And I was very appreciative of him for taking one for the team there, because this was no fun at all. He had to keep taking breaks because this was not ideal. But there they are. The full sheets of drywall are there, and then we put all of the scrap pieces there. There's still a bunch of lath up there from when we were tearing walls down up here. Anyway, we got it up. This is another piece now going up for Matt. Again, not fun. He went on the opposite side of the drywall this time, and I think we learned that that was the wrong side to be on. Luckily, we have the stairs go in both directions, so it made it a little easier to maneuver around, but still, this was not a fun job for anyone, and I got to stand and hold the camera. Again, very appreciative of Matt for all of his hard work. Anyway, I'm just very relieved that we have this stuff kind of out of the way, and it is going to make our life much easier while working on the downstairs, trying to get the mudded finished, and then we move on to sanding and painting, which is very exciting, but that is in a future video because we are not at that point just yet. This is the final piece of drywall now that Matt's moving upstairs. Again, very exciting to get it out of the way. We had 100 sheets of drywall delivered and there were 4 left at the end. So we really went through it. And I tell you, 100 sheets of drywall take up a lot of space in a house. And so it was definitely something that was in our way at all times. So it's very nice to get them away. Here's Matt just obviously doing some sweeping and tidying up as we move on to a different room here. This is me in the front room in the bed doing some work, and those are Matt's legs on the ladder. This is me showing you all of the drops of drywall mud everywhere that we will obviously have to clean up at some point, but especially on these floors before we refinish them. This is the living room. So obviously this is going to be a fun job in the future. Here's me in the dining room, piping room, trying to get the second coat, or maybe the third coat, I forget now, of the final like all-purpose mud here on the ceiling to try and smooth out a bunch of those ridges. Again, this is no fun at all. And I'm a fairly short person with fairly short arms, so this is always a struggle for me getting up to these high points. But anyway, it's been interesting. I've never done this kind of thing before, as was the case for so much of this renovation so far. A learning experience would be an understatement, to say the least, but I knew that when I was going into it. I knew that I would just try and figure it out the best I could. Matt has certainly done more of this work than me, but certainly never a full house. That's it for us this week. Next week should have a lot more exciting updates. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time at Piper House.